or a TV, and we're recording. We're talking about scrying, and it's a real interesting area for me. I get a lot of inquiries about learning or developing psychic abilities, I guess, or developing clairvoyance. And I say it again and again and again to the point of I sound like a broken record, that the best thing you can do is practice, 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 practice. And to that end, it should be fun. You know, if you've got your tarot deck out and you're reading all comers and you're trying to work out, you know, what's going on for the life of the same person for the 20th time in the 4th week, it's pressure, it's hard, it's not fun. If you're learning your cards, I always recommend that you do a little course. I really do, so that you can get things, you get your ducks in a row. You can get a good idea, a good grounding before you start trying to actually read and intuit. The first thing about learning tarot cards, and I know today's show's about scrying, but there's a reason why I haven't included tarot reading per se. It's not actually scrying. It's an intuition trigger mechanism. There are symbols in the cards. There are pointers, directions. The card itself has a meaning. I'm a bit old school with the idea of tarot. If you can't understand what the tarot means and you can only picture read, then go get a different type of card. Go and get cards for picture reading or for the purpose of reading their pictures, and don't worry so much about the other side of it. Otherwise, you really are doing a disservice to the cards and their ability to trigger things and to bring things forward. And tarot is very complex, very complex. You can get a lot of information with only a few cards. There's no other cards like it, no matter what. The angel cards and most of the oracle cards are very specific. You could not do that depth of reading. And very often that very specificity is going to leave you wanting. When you're looking for a bit of information, it becomes a little bit harder to interpret what that is. So you need to stretch your intuition a little bit. But one of the first things that's noticeable for people is if they've got to use their intuition and they're drawing cards or they're looking at things for themselves, then the biggest problem that they would have, I'm just going to make sure everything's actually working. Yes, we are. Oh, maybe we're not. Any recommendation? For cards, are you asking? Can you clarify that, Rain? If you're picture reading, I'm using the Voyager Tarot for picture reading today, and the reason I'm using them at all, I hope you can see that. The reason I'm using them at all was just to show that there are cards out there with phenomenal pictures. Tony Carmine Salerno. Turn your volume up, maybe. I think mine's looking pretty. I've got mine maxed out now, so if you're still having trouble, you may need to check your own settings and your own volume things. These are the Voyager Tarot. They're awesome cards for the pictures. They've got the most fantabulous, for want of a real word, fantabulous pictures. And so for reading just those, ignoring the other information, I'm happy with these cards. They are actually a tarot set, and he's popped in just changes to names. He's got crystal suits rather than pentacles, and he's using words like equanimity, etc. as guides. I tend to ignore those things with these cards because I'm using them purely for the pictures. When it comes to things like the Rider-Waite deck, picture reading gets a little lost because the pictures are very specific to the meaning of the tarot. So there are clues and hints, and there's symbolism and secret language and all sorts of wonderful meaty stuff that I enjoy. And so they're better that you know what the cards actually represent, what their concept is. Every card has a concept. Hiya, Jennifer. There's many things. So I would suggest practicing with friends. Get a group of friends or a circle if you can that all have a similar interest, or even if they don't have an interest in developing a professional skill or going all the way, it can be just a fun kind of a deal. I know that I used to yank my friends' jewelry off their necks just about to practice psychometry. So psychometry, we'll talk about at a later date. It is not the same thing. So with scrying, you're relying on visual skills. It's an awesome way to develop visual skills, recognizing line, associating parts of an image to create a whole image. It's your imagination at work, and moving it in with your intuition is probably about the best way that I can put that. Even with a card like this, you can look at a part of it and not actually see it for what it really is. You could misread it. You can see it as something different simply because your eye is drawn to the idea. That's the intuition kicking in a little bit. What it reminds you of, the line of association in relation to the person you're reading. Tea leaves. I've actually got some here. I have to have a look and, oops, I'm going to drip on myself now. But that's okay as long as it's not coming out of my mouth and my eyes, right? Can you have a look at that? Reading tea leaves. Now, that's my cup. I just did that so you guys could have a look, so I'm not going to read it because it is my cup. There's a website you can go to if you want to use this as a practice. I'll put the link in for you. Serena Powers has an awesome set of identifiers for the imagery, so whatever you think they may be, you can look it up. If you think something looks like a duck, if you think it looks like a lightning bolt, she's got an awesome set of reference material there for you to practice with. Is it so that you can learn to read tea leaves professionally? These days probably not the way to go because it's such a long drawn out process of getting the actual tea leaves, but also it's sort of it's fortune telling, as seen as fortune telling, but for developing skills you can't go past something like that, and it's fun. If everybody sits around, has a cup of tea, and then you do the swirl thing, and people read each other, you read different friends each time. You can do an interesting thing if you use different types of cups. You can actually have a person have their teacup and put an anonymous range of teacups in the middle so that nobody knows who they're actually reading. I used anonymity a lot when I was teaching live classes, and even now. It's important for you not to necessarily know who you're reading or not know the person you're reading so that your accuracy can be verified. Validation is really important if you want to go on and become a reader. But yeah, the point is practicing. I mentioned water and black mirrors. We had a little play with water this week, and unfortunately for me, I have to kind of kick out other skills. You know, I have to try and drop them into the background a little bit, so I have to try and not cheat and just read the energy directly. But I did find that the plain water with a dark bowl didn't do it for me. I just sort of looked at it and went, that just didn't turn me on. But with my friend Andrea, we threw in some oil. We just threw a bit of oil on top, and the movement of the oil was lovely and immediately gave a visual effect that was usable, so you might want to look at that in a dark bowl with water, so it looked dark underneath. The other thing is to use a striated bowl, like a malachite bowl or some kind of crystal lapis lazuli, so you've got that kind of imagery sort of playing underneath. It's probably one of the cheapest ways to get a scrying thing happening. Black mirrors are really quite expensive, and so are crystal balls. You can use glass balls, but don't go out and buy those ones that are clear and beautiful purple, etc., unless you've got something going on underneath it so that it's reflecting up the night skies or reflecting up something a little bit interesting. Then you're only going to see a reflection of the tables, or you're going to use it as a focal point, which is a different thing again. Using a tool as a focal point means that you are focusing on it. You can be focused on anything, and then there's a point where you sort of click over and you're fully reading clairvoyantly. I did go to a man many years ago, and he called himself, I quote, the Oracle, and I wasn't doing anything, even playing myself at the time. It was just a big special. They were opening up. My sister and I said, oh, let's go along, and they had this $30 and you could go and try all these different things, and I had my body shaken. It was holistic pulsing, it was called, which seems to have disappeared off the radar, but that was actually pretty groovy. I had an energy therapy or a healing. The lady did a bit of Reiki. I had a little tarot card reading, and the lady was learning that. So while we had fun, it wasn't exactly scintillating. And then I found myself fronting up to this guy who called himself the Oracle, and he said, the only way I can do this is you need to look me right in the eye. And so I was looking at him, and I just wanted to blink. I just wanted to look somewhere. I just was so uncomfortable with that. But he did an interesting little reading, and he said, this is many years ago, I must tell you. He said, I see you in the retail industry, and he said, I see people just flocking through your door. He said, but they're not trying to buy off you, they're after what you know. And of course, many years later, I did open up a shop that I practiced out of, and of course got rid of the shop since, and I just practiced. So he was pretty much bang on, although at the time I was thinking, me in retail? I don't think so. It didn't seem to be what I would be doing. So another thing to take on board, that accuracy isn't necessarily going to reflect what you think you know about yourself in the given moment. What else did I talk about in there with the scrying? The reading of hands, not the reading of palms. So I do read hands, and it's not something I do for anything but fun. I only do them in these shows. I certainly don't do any of this type of stuff professionally, except I do tarot cards and aura diagnosis, of course. And the fun with that is, of course, that you are identifying certain aspects of a hand. It's a little bit less than scrying, but it can be scrying insofar as sometimes you get just an image or a line, or you see something within that hand that it evokes an idea or a concept, or brings something forward for yourself. So with that, there's a bit of a combination thing. I don't read palms. I'm just going to tell you that right off the bat. I don't know how to read palms. I've got an idea of what the lines mean. I do enjoy having my palm read on occasion, but yeah, I don't know the lines, and I've never learnt them, and I'm probably never going to. So we don't do that one. You can read coffee grounds if tea is an issue, but you know what we just did for that was we went, because everybody uses tea bags, I guess, and I don't know about herbal teas, whether they would be worth a shot, but you can just go and buy a little bag of loose leaf, a little box of loose leaf tea, and you can actually make it in the cup if you want to, if you don't drink tea. But I was sort of told that you could use coffee grounds. I've never tried it, but if you in America, chances are pretty good that you do a filter coffee, and so you can probably drop a little bit of coffee into your cup on purpose towards the end there and see how you go with that. And the technique is to, you know, you have a little bit of liquid in there, not too much, as you give it a swirl, and then you turn it over. And when you turn it over, you let it drain for a wee while, and the fluid allows the tea or the coffee grounds to move out a little bit, and your swirl sort of places things in different vicinities. You're looking for things that remind you of things when you're doing scrying. It reminds me of this, and therefore that means that. Or if I'm thinking of little white fluffy rabbits, that means something cute and adorable, or making babies, whatever it refers to. Whatever, you know, if I'm looking at rabbits, I'm thinking lots of babies and probably lettuce leaves. So what you're thinking about for yourself, and how does that work, how does that imagery work, is exactly that. If you are seeing a little rabbit and it reminds you of babies, then I'd be inclined to say that there may be babies coming forward, or children coming forward, or a pregnancy, and see how you go with that. Practice, practice, practice. The more different things you try, the more skills you hone. I quite often get asked about my own set of skills. Basically, I was just trying anything and everything that went. I went and learnt satium at the same time as I did a mediumship course, which didn't teach me much about mediumship, but it totally helped me move on with a guide, and it certainly taught me a little bit about meditation. I had some amazing experiences in my meditations that made that worthwhile, if nothing else. And went on and practiced a whole pile of things. I was practicing spiritual portraiture as an artist anyway. I thought that would be something that made sense to have a go at, and I saw a lot of interesting stuff. Do you know, out of a matter of interest, I stopped doing the spiritual portraiture because I had done a painting of a guide for a lady, and she was thrilled with it. She took it, she was thrilled with it, and she couldn't take it home with her that particular day. She came back the next day with her daughter, and it was a picture of her daughter. There was no doubts about it in my mind. It was a picture of her daughter. But I had an expectation of something else. There was a slight Egyptian look to her. The haircut was virtually the same. The jewelry was turquoise that I put on her. She loved wearing turquoise. So I decided then that, okay, you need to look a little bit deeper into what you're seeing. I had already known that I was seeing living people, people that weren't guides, people that weren't dead, people that weren't in the past, and I could see them as easily around a person as others might say they see somebody who's in spirit. And so that's always one of those big areas that we'll have to talk about at some point. If you see somebody around another person, don't just assume that it's a dead person or a guide. It could be somebody completely in their lives. So we need to not have a preconceived idea of what it is we might be seeing. Hello, Mandy and everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm going to start the readings right now. It's Kylie and David, her son. I've got two hands here. One doing what I can't do is the Star Trek G'day. I'll read David first, even though he separated those fingers. It shows an agility, actually, that a lot of people don't have. But his thumb holds itself out away from his hand, or David, your thumb holds itself out away from your hand. That means you kind of like to be a little bit of a rebel. It's got quite a large, sort of a knobby area on the end of your thumb, so you'll dive into things and give them a go. Whether you will succeed or not isn't relevant for you when you start. So you're not result-oriented when you start something. You don't automatically think, oh, I've got to go and and make this work, you're quite happy to drop it and then try something else. So I would say that you try a number of different things before you settle on what it is you might like. You've got a longer middle finger by the looks of it, and it's very close to your second to smallest finger there, your fourth finger, and that usually tells me that you're a person that's fairly direct in your manner, in your speech. The way you talk to people will be fairly direct, not necessarily blunt. I suppose you could be blunt, but direct. That means that if you're not sure about what somebody's up to, you're likely to say, well, what do you mean, or what are you trying to say, or you're going to be looking for clarity, and you like that in yourself. You like a direct approach rather than something a little more subjective that you've got to work out. That causes you issue. Your index finger leans in towards your middle finger, and that tells me that you have a lack of confidence in your own productivity. That means there's a lot of times where you think that you just can't do things and you have to push yourself to give them a go, or you'll just completely avoid the follow-through. So that's about follow-through. If you don't finish something, the chances are pretty good that it's the follow-through is the issue, that you feel like you might fail, or the fun's over because now you're down to the mundane tasks of day-to-day dealing with whatever it is that you've started. And of course I've got quite a bit of movement through the wrist as I'm looking at it, and that tells me that, you know, when it comes to life choices as to what you want to do, I think you'll make a lot of different decisions, a diverse range of things that you'll do as you go through life. But I don't see that as being unreliable. I see it more as, you know, once you've done something for a while, it's okay, time to move on, because you're not that result-oriented. Basically, it's about enjoying your life and getting on with it, and not having anything that stops you from doing that. There's a kink in your little finger, and it says that there's always a little something going on in the back of your mind, so you don't necessarily pay attention to everything that you're being told, or what you should be paying attention to. So things like school won't be your favourite deal, or you may frustrate others when they want to know why you didn't do what they asked you to do. We'll probably talk about mothers there. And you'll actually say, you know, I didn't hear you. And it's not that you physically didn't hear them, it's that you didn't pay attention enough to hear what was going on in the moment. So that's David, and on to Kylie. Kylie, you've got a really strong creative streak, the very middle finger that you've got going on there. There's a lot of flesh in your hand and in your fingers, and it just says to me that there's a lot of creativity, but the colour tells me that there's a little frustration as well. I don't think that's just health-oriented. That would have been there for a very long time. Your little finger is quite short compared to the others, and it just tells me that I get the whole sense for you with that little finger is that you can't quite live up to something. You can't quite get to where you would like to be. Somehow you feel like you've fallen short in a lot of areas in your life, and I think it would be important for you not to give up. And again, I'm not talking about health. It would be important for you not to give up. It would be important for you to find your bliss, to find what it is that works for you. You may not have been taught about what you need to do to get what you want or to have what you need, and in which case you have to teach yourself. You hold your thumb very close, so that says that you will pretty much try and keep the peace, try and be in the middle road. You will try not to step outside of things. So you may be in positions through your life, or have been in positions through your life, where you feel a bit used, or you feel that somebody's just riding roughshod over you. I don't see that as just an adult thing either. So you may have felt that there may have been a bit of bullying in your past, from school upwards, and maybe even from home. It's somebody not being too gentle with you, that's for sure, and I would add the bullying in there because it's stuck in there now in my mind. We've got a little tilt over with your your index and your middle finger tilting over to your next finger. You would avoid things if you could before you would address them, so you might spend a little time trying not to do what you're supposed to be doing, or paying attention to what you're supposed to be paying attention to, and then it'll get to a point where you can't ignore it anymore, or you can't avoid it anymore, and that's when you will act at that point. There is a certain amount of confidence issue in that. It's not confidence in who you are so much as confidence with your place in the world, with, you know, where you are in life, and how you meet life, I guess. There's a little bit of that, and I just see the wide flatness of your hand. It's a very matter-of-fact thing, and so you would have to watch being self-critical, look at your inner dialogue a little bit, and make sure that it's radiating towards the things that you would like for yourself, who you would like to be as a person, and what you would like to function as a lifestyle. So pop those together and see how you go with those. Kind of cool, kind of good fun, and we move on to the next ones. Can you talk more about crystal balls? Yes, I can. I'll do this next reading, and then we'll move on to crystal balls a little bit. The next one is Michelle Hooney. Hello. Michelle's got this beautiful manicured hand, and then the first thing she said to me is, "Oh, I need a manicure." So I'm like, okay. Now, we've got these beautiful big swirls on your knuckles, immediately apparent, and a rather squarish shaped hand, although your middle finger dives out there. There's quite a big slope between the middle finger and your little finger. So you're very ordered in your thinking. Whatever starts off in your thought processes, it'll build for you. It almost gets like, I like that idea. Actually, you know what? I'm really liking that idea as you think it more through, and then you end up with I'm loving that idea. That's the one I'm going to do. So you're quite considered in the way that you think. Even though your position of your hand, your little finger is easily held out from the rest of the hand, and so you try not to listen to the voices in your head, let's put it that way. Sometimes you probably need to, but you try not to listen to the voices in your head. Make those voices more positive, and you'll feel more cohesive. Those big swirls on your knuckles, that's ideas. You're an ideas girl. You're the it girl. You're the person that people should go to solve their problems. You can see your way through problems very quickly, very efficiently. Because of that, it's quite likely you would get... Hiya, Meg. It's quite likely you would get impatient, not just with delays and stuff, but you would get impatient in a day-to-day kind of a way, or impatient with people that just don't get on with it. What's the matter with you? Just do this and you'll be fine. You've got a huge curve to the top of your thumb, and although it's held in close to your hand, it does say there's a certain amount of independence, but you like to use that intelligently, if that makes sense to you. You're not like an off-the-fly kind of a person. So you like to do your own things. You want things to work out in the right and appropriate way. So you are more likely to think about what it is you want to do, and then follow it through, and then create it. But it will probably be a bit different to what everybody else is doing still. And you like it that way. You like to be slightly separate from the norm, from what everybody else is engaging in. Your index finger is quite long. You're very productive. You get on with things. You probably get through a lot of work in any one day, regardless of what it is that you're required to do. And that's a real benefit for a person who wants to be self-employed or wants to create their own business. You're self-motivated with that long index finger. You don't need pushing along, not really. And you've got a lot of stamina. I've got a strong movement through from the wrist into the knuckles, and that tells me that you've got a lot of stamina. That wrist is quite wide in the hand, and I know women look at their wrists and wish they were dainty. Well, don't wish for that. It's a weakness. So there's a strength in this. There's a stamina, which says that you'll put a lot of effort into anything. If you decide to go and exercise, you'll put everything into it for as long as you decide to do it. It doesn't mean that you've decided to spend the next 30 years doing that, and that's what you are. In general, you put a lot of effort into the things that you do. And actually, I will do one more here. What have I got? It's Margaret Mary. We've got a very long and curved index finger. That means you are probably just a goer, moving all the time, getting on with things, trying different things. There's the middle finger and the index finger aren't terribly different in size, actually. So it says your creativity and your productivity are tied in together. That means as soon as you get an idea, you're going to run with it. You may not consider it as well as you could. Your thumb is way out there, way out the left side. So you're what we would probably call a little bit of a free spirit there, and that you're likely to move off in your own direction, regardless of warnings, regardless of what other people say or think. And you don't get angry either with their ideas. I don't think so. The whole looking at this is more like a, yeah, whatever. If that's what you think, yeah, that's fine for you, but that's not what I'm doing. We've got a very strong line from the wrist straight up into the center of the hand. Part of that's the position that you're holding your hand in, but the fact that I'm looking at that is profound for me. And it just says that there are two very separate divisions in your productivity and the way that you work and the things that you do. You're welcome, Michelle. And so that means that you've got two parts to your life, I guess, and you're fully present in both of them, which I think is very awesome. As your productivity and your thumb and your middle finger are all quite separate, it says to me that when you are creative and then you are doing things, you can be creative up here about something you're going to do tomorrow or the next week and still be productive in the present. So your mind doesn't wander off to what it's got to do. You've got a true multitasking ability, I guess, where your mind goes, it doesn't necessarily affect what you're doing in the present moment, but it's a pre-planning, so you're planning ahead a little bit, and that's just who you are. Your little finger holds itself up really, really well, so your thoughts move through your mind with ease. They're not conflicted as a rule. You tend to take your thoughts and work them through and come out with a solution. So I think that's really nice, straightforward kind of a hand, and you probably would come across to people as very straightforward, very, very out there probably to some people, thinking you're a little bit wacko maybe, but not because of your spiritual interest either, just you can be a bit out there, but it seems to me that it's ordered and it's something you're happy with, and in that case, you know, good on you. Okay. The next one I've got is Debbie. Oh, she's clapping. We'll get back to the crystal balls. I actually have a few hands because a few came in late, so I thought, well, I better get at least halfway through, since we're nearly halfway through the show. What I've got here is a thumb that moves out from the hand again, but it moves and twists away a little bit when you look at it. So it's not side on. It sort of twists. I can't do it. So it sort of twists away a little bit, which sort of says, you know, I'm open. I'm very open to what I'm offering, to what people are putting out there for me. It probably means that you can learn very, very well when you set your mind to it, or when you find that there's a reason to learn or it works out for you. You've got to see a result. You've got to see why you're doing something before it becomes something you actively pursue. And so it's kind of interesting. But it is different. It is away from the hand and it's twisted away, so it's different. You like to match the beat of your own drum, and so having to fit into things is probably more of a trial, and that would then make you a little bit slower in the way that you take in information or the way that you deal with things that you would like in your life if they tend to be mainstream. Mainstream is mundane. Your very long center finger and the index and the fourth finger are virtually, well, actually the index finger is just slightly shorter than the fourth finger. That just means that when it comes to productivity, you can sort of fall behind a little bit. Things would get away from you. That means I'd start with this and then I'd end up getting distracted, and it's not that I didn't do a lot in the day is how you would go. It's just that the things that I did weren't necessarily what I was meant to be doing, so it's a little bit easy to get distracted, but still very productive. Nice long fingers, which says details are important. You need to watch that they don't become too important, so that everything's about the details and you miss the concept or you miss the enjoyment of the overriding. Very short thumb, very short little finger in relation to these others, and it just sort of says, you know, that there's a little bit of a cut-off in the idea of how your thoughts process into your daily life. So the thoughts that would run around and around and around, and they don't necessarily find their outlet in the appropriate way or in a productive way. So you might want to look at taking your thoughts and just cutting them off, literally going, okay, enough of that now, I'm just going to do it. Or this is the thought that's running around, oh yeah, I was thinking this last week, I'm going to stop that right now. So, you know, deliberately cut those thoughts off and move them along so that you're not just switching around and around and around. It's easy to find the tendency to always be at the beginning of things and not getting to the end of things and feeling that it's a constant beginning when you are running your thoughts backwards all the time or running your thoughts around and around all the time. Quite fleshy in the lower part of the fingers, especially the index finger and the little finger. So your productivity and your thoughts, they tend to have a base that isn't always followed through, both of those. So that's kind of an interesting thing that you might want to look at and might want to have a little work with. Thank you, Mandy. You have a good day. Sorry about the World War III and the kids. and I've got Brittany. Now, Brittany, we've got very slender fingers here, and your middle finger again is quite long, and the other two fingers are fairly much in line beside them. So you can be very committed to things, and the thumb is way out there. It's way out there, and it's very straight, very straight. This is very much contained. It's in your mind who you want to be, what you want to be expressing, and what you want to be doing. But you're not necessarily going to tell other people. You're more likely to just do it, and they'll have to work it out themselves. It means that while you can be communicative and friendly, you don't necessarily feel like you owe anybody any explanations, and so you'll just quite literally do your own thing. You're quite happy just doing your own thing, being your own person, being independent of what stereotypes there are out there. We've got the creativity is followed through really well with productivity, so whatever you're thinking, feeling, your desires, you'll always just sort of follow that through nice and quietly. The slenderness of the fingers is about that quietness, but there's a broad flatness, so very direct as a person as well. That doesn't mean that you run out and tell everybody what you think, but if somebody asks you, the chances are pretty good you'll just say it and call it like it is. There's a wide wrist, so it's a lot of stamina as well. That means fortitude would be a better word in your case. You're quite happy to hold to yourself, to hold to your own ideals, even if somebody else says something different, even if they have authority, even if you respect them. You're more likely to just sit quietly and wait for them to finish and then carry on doing things the way you're going to do them anyway. There's a little distance on that little finger, but it comes and draws up nicely to the next. So you use your thoughts well. You're applied in your thinking. That means you think for a purpose. You don't just let your thoughts go round and round and round and round as a rule. I mean, everybody does occasionally, but as a rule, your thoughts are directed. You know what you're thinking about. You know why you're thinking about it. And you know where you want that to take you. Okie pokey then. Crystal balls. We're back to crystal balls. Scrying with a crystal ball. If you get crystals, preferably that you can see into, and what you're looking for is ones, when you buy one, you're looking for one with inclusions. You're looking for one with bubbles. If you use glass, get one that's got bubbles inside. It's got things happening. So they're not perfect. That makes them cheaper usually. With a crystal ball that's dense and you can't look into it, you're kind of defeating the purpose. But then you are doing what is lithomancy, which is crystal gazing, or reading the stone itself, and the lines of the stone is a little bit different to looking into a crystal ball. There's two ways you can do the crystal ball gazing. As I said, one is to use it as a point of focus so that you flip out. You can use anything for that. You can use a candle. You can take your focus into a candle. You can light it, preferably in a jar, please. Not one of these that can fall over and burn the house down and say, Dorothy told me to do this. In a glass jar, get a candle burning and just look at the flame, look at the flame, look at the flame. Allow yourself to blink, but try not to blink often, and just allow yourself to relax as you look at it. Now, if you've got a thought in mind, if you've got a question in mind, if you've got an idea, if there's something you would like to know, then you can get yourself into a position of actually just having an altered experience, a mind-altering experience, moving a shift of consciousness, I guess, is the best way to explain it. You can do that with a crystal ball as well. You can do that with any method of scrying. Black mirror scrying is really more about that than anything else, is that you look into it and you look into it, and then you move into a shifted perspective. It's easier to see energy in a darker space as well. So, but be aware of what you're actually looking at. Take the time not to just freak yourself out. Sit quietly and go, okay, what am I seeing? Am I seeing an aura? Am I seeing an image? Am I seeing, what am I looking at? Is that a person that's alive, or is it a person that I know? Don't automatically jump into the darker ideas and thoughts. Hurricane lamp, yeah, that'll do it. So there's a number of ways to tip yourself into a shifted consciousness, and then there's scrying. Scrying is not that, and it relies on visual skills, where psychometry really relies on empathic skills, feeling, sensing. You get a feeling of things. With psychometry, you can have visionary experiences, but that's usually your own clairvoyance kicking in rather than the psychometry itself. The first mediumship teacher that I did have actually did do that. She held on to your items. She did psychometry. She didn't see anything, and she'd been working professionally for 20 years and admitted to me that she'd never seen a vision ever. My own mind, as I stand today, even at that time I was a little surprised at the time, to my own mind now, that's terrible. and it's a low level of practitioning. It means that you are subject to flash in the pan information, that you get a flash and that's it. So really it's good for 5 minutes worth. It's good for a group situation. But if you're talking to somebody for an hour about their problems, or if you're trying to be a clairvoyant, it becomes more that you're padding out that flash with a lot of rubbish, really. You haven't tried it because you figured you'd freak yourself out. Well, it can be that way. You can, when I'm teaching my students to read aura, I quite often will tell them, a really good thing to do is to, if you've got a bath, sit in the bath, and you put your feet up against the bath, and you're relaxed, you're in the bath, it's warm, and just have a look around the edge. You've got a white background, and you can have a little look at that, or to get up and look in a fogged up mirror. Don't clear it, leave it fogged, and just stand there and have a look at that. You can be dressed or undressed, that's up to you, and just let your eyes relax, but you're looking at the edge of your head, not looking at your face, looking at the edge of your head. They're good techniques, and what you're doing is your eyes see everything. They see more than you ever could possibly imagine, but your brain has been filtering that out since you're a baby, and it's filtering it out to present you with less potentials, with less things to boggle your mind, if you like, and so that in any one moment you're seeing what becomes what's important for you to see, whether that's to save your life because you don't want to fall down the stairs or get run over by a car, or whether that's to pay attention to a situation that needs your attention for other reasons. We develop that ourselves, what we see as a priority. So what you're doing with this sort of thing is you're actually triggering your brain. You're giving it a message to say, well, actually, I want to pay attention to this stuff now. What if you go to an antique shop and pick up an item that others have picked up? Do you get everyone's energy? No, not really. I used to actually do that. I bought my own crystal ball. Actually, it was a glass one that I bought in an antique shop, but I used to have fun with the lady that ran the shop, because you'd pick up the energy of the people that owned the item, not the people that had touched it. You don't really leave energy trails all over the place as such. Where you have a repeated touching, if she started using that herself, or if she found that it was something that she valued and would hang on to or whatever, then you could pick her up. I do know that with psychometry, once I had a lady come to class, and I don't know if she thought she was clever or not, but she gave me an item of jewellery, and when I held on to it, I said, oh, that's really interesting. I just see this Indian lady. She's fairly large. I can see she's wearing a sari. She's traditionally dressed. I could see her hair tied up at the back of her head in a bun, and I said, she's very pleasant, very kind, very nice lady. And she looked at me and said, actually, I just bought that yesterday at a market. It was an Indian lady. She makes them and sells them. So, there's nobody else's energy in it yet but hers. So kind of an interesting thing. I picked up a hairbrush, an old antique hairbrush set with a little mirror, and as soon as I picked it up, it was kind of embarrassing and funny. I just wanted to look in the mirror and start stroking my hair, and I said to her, oh, this person did that a lot. She was quite vain. She would sit there looking in the mirror and just brush her hair, looking in the mirror, enjoying how she looked. So yes, you can pick up quite a lot, but I have to say that's sensing. I've got the feeling I want to do this and I want to do that, as opposed to I'm seeing this lady doing this and doing that. Does that make any sense? With the other one, I saw the Indian lady, so I was using different skills. There wasn't much in the jewellery, if you follow what I'm saying there. So then what I'm reading essentially is the energy trail, which is how I usually read, from the person who gave me the ring to the woman she bought it off. So I was seeing her perspective. She was the one standing in front of this lady's table. She was the one looking at that lady and buying that piece of jewellery off her, and she bought it just to bring to my class. That's what I mean. I don't know if she was trying to pull the wool or what she was doing. But in the end, I got, I suppose, the good kudos. I got the kudos for it. But that psychometry is a different kind of way to read, and that's what I mean when when I am reading these things. I haul in that energy reading thing that I do, and the aura reading thing. I try not to do it, to keep specific to what exactly it is that I'm doing. From that perspective, I find all tools limiting. I cannot, no matter how I look at it, if I drop those skills, I cannot get the level of information, the depth of information. I can't get the long-range forecast. I can't get the past. When I use these tools, it's very in the moment kind of a thing. So yeah, I think they're limiting, but I also think they're brilliant for enhancing skills when you're learning. If you want to become a professional, go and get a class, go and learn properly, so that what you're passing on to the people that are paying you is accurate and good and better than what most people are doing. If you want to do it socially, then practice like this until the cows come home. Get a group of friends, just enjoy it, have fun with it. If you want to read tarot, go and learn the tarot so that you're good at what you're doing, as opposed to a mishmash of scary stuff, I've got Gabriella's hand, so we'll move on. We've got a very long middle finger, very wide square hand, and a super curve to the thumb, which is quite good fun. So very individual, very individual. The very long middle finger shows a very strong drive in the creative area, very creative, and the index finger is a little shorter than the fourth finger, so not always a follow-through that you would like, and maybe frustration around why that doesn't happen. It's about productivity, matching and meeting the pinky finger, which is the thought process. You may find that, because it's very long, that pinky finger, that the thought process is ongoing. It's pushing out the ideas, but somehow you're not quite managing to bring it all together. And that's where I put this hand, actually. You'd have trouble bringing things together. You'd have to be very ordered in knowing that what you desire and what you think and your individuality can all work together, so that that little bit short on productivity there, it doesn't make everything hard work. Do you follow that? The very wide flat hand, very wide wrist, lots of stamina. If you were a farmer, you'd work 20 hours a day. You put a lot of effort into everything that you do and may feel drained quite a bit. There's sort of a strain through the way you hold the hand. The wide flat thing is that you can be blunt or very honest, and so sometimes that sort of works against you at times, but it means you're an honest, straight-up person. So if you upset the odd person by being honest, I seriously think that too bad, because I'd rather meet an honest person that I get upset with occasionally than meet a dishonest person who never upsets me ever, and is behind my back saying stuff, or So I've got a preference of honesty. Most people do. One of the things in my book that I wrote, I think that was in Wisdoms, Witticisms, and Dorothyisms. We were talking about it yesterday. One line that I've got in there is that even dishonest people value honesty in others. There's nobody gets more upset for having their gear stolen than the thief. It's true. Nobody gets more upset about being punched in the head than the person who's a bully. Those are the sort of things that you're looking at there. So honest people tend to appreciate honesty. Even if they're upset in the moment, they will move past it quickly. Dishonest people can't handle it. So think about it that way a little bit, and you'll be a lot more comfortable in your own skin there. It doesn't mean we don't have to learn diplomacy, but at the same time, outside of being out and out rude, I guess, the honesty comes first, and other people can work their own stuff out. It's not for you to sort their sensibilities out, is where I would go with that. The long fourth finger says that you can plan long range ahead, really can plan long range ahead. It's one of the longest ones I've seen today. And so when you're planning ahead, you just need to not get ahead of yourself, do you understand? So that things can come together. So it's really bringing this individuality together with the creativity. If those two work together, you'll enjoy that, but it won't necessarily be an end game for you. If you get into your long-range planning and you find that you've got your thoughts running in the back of your head, this is like intellectual processing of what it is that you want to do, they can work well together, but they won't be the end game either. So you'll find that you've got this aspect going on and you've got the creative aspect going on, and somehow none of that is pulling together. And then when you're doing one, you don't feel like you're being you. When you're being creative, you still don't feel like you're being you. There's this cohesive quality that seems to be just missing a little bit. So that would be what I would work on if I were you. That's what I would look at. And I've got Rebecca. Rebecca's got a turned out thumb as well. That means that she's very open person. That means she's open to all comers, I would say. Usually that means a person who can make good friends and solid friendships. We've got the same length for the index and the fourth finger with another long index finger. Although we've got a chubby hand, And the fingers in general are a bit shorter. It's kind of a squarish hand. We've got somebody, again, who's fairly direct, a bit of a bull at a gate, I would say, because of the thickness of the fingers, that there would be a tendency for you to just get on with it. I'm just going to get on with it. I'm just going to do it. It's sort of like not a lot of thought will come before your actions necessarily. So that's kind of good fun. I would see it as good fun watching you anyway. Sometimes you mightn't find it such good fun having to sort things out here and there. Your index finger is bent in towards your middle finger, which is very creative and very long. So I would suggest that your satisfaction would lie in being creative. That is, either making clothes. I don't mean you have to be a seamstress, but designing clothes, or being an artist, or anything arty or creative, crafty. There's that slight separation of the thumb and the little finger. You can avoid things, and that could be the mundane things, the things that you have to do. You like things that are a bit off the wall, that are a bit different, but we have to allow that there is a mainstream, and there's a little kink in that little finger towards the fourth finger. So that just sort of says there's a wishing in you. You wouldn't be too satisfied with yourself if you put things off. Procrastinating it would be something that you could do, but you wouldn't necessarily enjoy about yourself. So, you can haul that in if you want to. We've got a very wide, strong wrist as well. So, you can put up with and deal with a lot of stuff. The way you hold your hand there, I would say you have put up with a lot of stuff, and you've had to use your stamina on a regular sort of basis over your lifetime. And now and again that might be a bit wearisome for you. So learn how to relax into your creativity. Learn how to use that index finger. The productivity that I see in you will always be lending itself towards something that is a little bit different, something that is an expression of who you are as a person. And you don't value people who aren't prepared to put themselves out there, I don't think. I don't think you do at all. And we move on to Laura. It's Laura's hand. So Laura asked me what I was doing with all these hands, and I told her I was making hand stew. So that's my nature. We've got a very clear curved hand, actually, so you can sometimes go sideways to get to things, or to work your way into things, and your whole hand is sort of leaning towards your thumb. So you want to march to the beat of your own drum, but you may not have quite found the courage. Okay, good on you. I'll be a bit clear here. It's really kind of difficult to be. It's a little easier on a radio show to go and look at things and bring them in. It's too hard, and it's not fair on the watchers for me to move away from the radio show to go hunting for pictures. So I'm sorry, Rain. I'm going to let that one drop this time. So for everybody, please be aware that when I'm doing a TV show and I'm asking for pictures, etc. Thank you, Rebecca. It would be really cool if you could get me the pictures early, because otherwise, like today, I was sort of scrambling around to try and fit them in, and it would be nice not to. Laura, so everything's leaning towards that thumb. So you'd like to march the beat of your own drum, but you haven't always found the ability to do that, or you haven't always found the opportunity, I would say. You've got straight up with your thumb. You'd like to deal with things as they come up. You are matter of fact when it comes to dealing with problems and situations, but there's a little wee curve away there, and very often I think you would find yourself in a wishful thinking mode of, I wish I could just sort of wander off and ignore them for a minute, or I just wish the kids could just get themselves dressed and I could just bugger off and go and bowl for the day, do 10-pin bowling or whatever it is. There's this whole drive of, that's okay, I'm not actually jumping over anybody, it happens a lot, and so I thought I'd throw it in there so that I'm really happy to do all of this stuff, but it's a little bit tricky if I've got to run around while I'm trying to be on TV, sort of. There's this very clean lines to your fingers. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Just give me a moment. Okay, come here. I'd like everybody to meet my friend Brittany. Say hi. Okay. She's sneaking, trying to get her bag without anybody watching, without anybody seeing her. So there we go. there's such a clean line to these fingers that, you know, you're very straight up and down in your approach to people. That means that you are very hurt if they aren't honest with you, and you find that out. You feel it's very important in yourself to be as honest as you can with people. So you go sort of sideways round to get the things that you want, which isn't dishonesty. It just means that you're not very direct. If you're thinking you might want to buy a house, just as an example, the chances are it will take you a couple of years of looking first, even if you could afford it at the start. Isn't she lovely? She's gone now. She's run away. It would be more about that. It's like everything's got to be just so before you would commit to something like that. If you were going to go down the road, it's very easy for you not to get distracted, but you would plan all these stops on the way, is probably where I'm going with that. You would say, okay, well, I've got to go to the dairy. Oops, this is on the way. That's over there. And the next thing, you've got yourself a little mission, a little road trip just about. No, she wasn't embarrassed. She was trying to sneak to get her bag so she could go and go away. She'd go out, and I was sitting on it just about. Yeah, so that's what I'm seeing there for you. There is definitely hurt when others misrepresent themselves, because I think you kind of inside yourself have a little bit of naivety to a certain extent, where you think that people should just be like you and be honest and upfront, and there's no reason to mislead and so on. So you can get quite tarty, I would say, when a person has misrepresented themselves. Don't see anything wrong with that myself, being a bit tarty. Okay, so we're moving right along from Laura to Becky. Becky's Voyager Tarot. She wanted a Voyager Tarot card, so I'm going to draw that for you right now, Becky. Now these are, as I say, my favourite cards for just picture reading, and we'll get a card here. Okay, we have got this card. Have a look. All right. Now the first thing I'm seeing here are the hands, and they are holding the side of a young lion's head or a lioness's head. To me that says the same as that strength card. It is the strength card, I guess, but that's definitely stood out for me here. And it's really just stroking the ego. It's not in a bad way, by the way. You'll never hear me say the word ego as if it's a dirty word or something you shouldn't have. It's something you absolutely should have. You can't have the spiritual ideal of saying I am is a great thing to say and acknowledge, and yet I am is bad, because I am is ego, right? Energy going, whatever you want to put it however you like. It's on the move. So anyway, I'm seeing this, and it's stroking the cheek, which is kind of nice. So to me that is about managing yourself, managing your emotions, managing your anger if you've got any, managing how you think about things, how you feel about things. And there's this beautiful angel, and it really is. It's right there. If you can see it or not, I can't see anything. I've got photos in front there. And it's just swooping in behind you. You don't even realise it's coming. So to me that sort of says that there's a bit of frustration, there's a bit of anger, there's a bit of upset going on the inside of you one way or another. But what you can't see yet is there's this saviour. I guess we tend to think of angels as saviours. And it's coming, and it's on its way, but it's behind you, so you can't see it. So just relax. It's definitely one of those trust moments, I guess, when we're looking at something like that. I'm seeing this pillar pulling up behind you as well. The work's been put in, the effort's been put in, there's nothing you can do. All you can do is wait for things to play out. And if you're going to get frustrated, if you're going to get distressed, if you're going to get panicky about it, then you're only doing that to yourself. It's not going to change events. It's not going to make things faster. It's not going to improve your day-to-day life. So everything's in place. It's all coming towards you. You can call it what you like. You can call it the universe. You can call it angels, God. I don't care what you call it. What it to me is, it's consequence. That means everything's been put in place. Everything's been set up as good as you can do it, and now you just wait for things to play out. And sometimes that waiting between putting the effort in and getting the reward can be a little bit frustrating. I know it can be a bit scary thinking, well, it's not coming, it's not coming, it's not coming, and then suddenly it's there, and then you go, oh, I don't know what I was worried about. Sometimes things don't come to us either the way we expect them to come to us. So just relax a little bit and let things play out the way that they're going to. Now, another part of this is there's this burden, and I'm seeing like this little statue. I don't know if you can see that there. And in the statue, it's being held. It's holding up, you know, like the weight of the world when I'm looking at the statue. But then when I look and I'm seeing like this weight and this heaviness, all it is a little egg. there's nothing in it. You know, it's a little egg. It's light. There's nothing in it. So the burden is created by self. It's generated by worry and concern and the result being result oriented, as opposed to you can worry about that result for 3 months, and that's 3 months gone out of your life that you could have enjoyed more without worrying about it. But the 3 months stands. You know, the 3 months doesn't change because of your worry. It's not as if the concern creates anything, is the best way I can put that. I don't like to say to people, just don't worry. I know I do say it, and I don't like it when I say it because it's very hard to find a way to say your worry isn't helping anything. You need to find something else to do with your thinking. There's other things you can do with your thought processes, with the thinking, with the way you go. She's got, yes, and that is frustrating. Everything is on hold because we're waiting for the funds, which are coming, and definitely coming. I know I've seen that before, and that's the card's not about money as such, but it's not just about money. It's about a number of factors, and it's about a few things in play, but they are in play. And so instead of that worrying about not having them, it's time for you to just put yourself into a progressive mode. And a progressive mode to me says, okay, I'm planning for my future regardless of that. Whether it comes or not is irrelevant at this stage. I'm planning for my future. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. If there's something I can't do right now, that's irrelevant if I can't do it, right? Worrying about not being able to do it doesn't make it get done. Is there another way I can do it? Is there something else I can do? Can I focus in a different area so that that's not really a big issue? She's got lots of home repairs that need to be done, like putting in a new boiler so we can have normal heat. Well, by the time you're even thinking about that, it's going to be bloody spring. So if you haven't got it and you can't afford it right now, there's nothing you can do, and that's pretty much what the card's saying. You know, there's nothing you can do. Everything's in place, and all you can do is wait out the results. All right? Let me have a look. We have got Megan. Yee! She was my last little panic. So that means I think this is the last. Oh, no, she wasn't. I had another last little panic, Jennifer. Jennifer's after this one, and then we're about done. Megan, okay, we've got very much a person who likes to do her own thing, doesn't like being told what to do. We've got those two fingers sort of diving on out there. Your fourth finger's quite a bit shorter. You're very productive with your index finger and your creativity finger. Both, they like twins, man. So if you feel it, you're doing it, basically. And get out of my way. I think I've got that feeling, get out of my way. That's where the index finger, as it's a little bit shorter, just tends to mean that you don't always consider all of the details. Thank you, Rain. You're welcome, Becca. You don't necessarily worry about the details so much, but you do just get on with it, you know. And so I don't see you as making lots of mistakes that you have to sort out. I think you're quite ordered, but you like to do things your own way. God help the bloke that folds the laundry wrong for you, or hangs it up differently to you, or, you know, it's not that you'd get angry about those sort of things, but you are quite likely to sort of say something or go in and do it yourself. I'll do it myself. There's not worth waiting for you guys to sort that out. You very much got this on your fourth finger. There's quite fleshy at the bottom. It is at the other middle finger as well, and that's really good foundations. It says to me that when you are being creative, when you're doing something that's new, when you want to just get on with stuff, you just bowl on in and you make sure that the base is good before you take your next step. So you're quite ordered in your way of thinking. So I would say that you're very ordered in your home, very ordered in your lifestyle, how you keep things together, neat and tidy. Everything's, you know, ducks in a row kind of energy, but it's got to be your way. Or, you know, you like to do things your way is the better way to put it. I really do see that you would probably get quite ruffled feathers if somebody came in and suggested you do things differently, or if you do it their way. Even if they're right, it would take you a minute to sort of turn that bus around and go, all right then, and there'd be a little bit of angst in there. I can't quite see your wrist, unfortunately, but you've got quite a wide hand. So again, we've got another person, quite interesting, just about everybody that's sent in hand, that's a very straightforward person. You know, you can be trusted, and you can be trusted because you're straightforward. If you say you're going to do something, you will try and do that to the best of your ability. And if you say you're not interested, then you'll say that because that's just true. You'll try and say it the right way, but you're likely to say it. So, you know, you're there for people when it suits and when it's right, when it's proper. You're good with your boundaries, I would say, with this hand. With your little pinky getting away from you there, you know, if you don't want to know it, you don't want to know it. And I've got this sort of action. Get out. Don't want to know. Talk to the hand. Go away. And a little bit of that goes on. It's avoidance, but I also see it as avoiding issue rather than avoiding what you need to do. I think you're very productive. That index finger is pretty long. And so I would say it's more of, I don't want to know. As I said, you don't like people telling you what to do. So, yeah, that can be part of that. It's not liking to be told what to do, is avoiding listening to things that may mean that you're not quite doing it right. I would say, you know, with this, that anybody that criticises you is likely to get a bit of a rack up. And I'd love to be there to watch and listen to that, because I'd be the one sitting in the corner with my cup of tea, laughing my head off, thinking that's pretty funny. So people getting upset, unless it's personally with me, I guess, and even then with me a lot of the time, but only certain people it doesn't bother me. Mostly when I see people get upset, I do think it's kind of funny, and they don't like you laughing at them when they're being all serious and angry and upset. But yeah, here we go. Jennifer! Jennifer, your fingers get all kind of narrow towards the top. There's a almost straight line, although there's a variation between your fingers in height. The middle finger is a little bit longer, but the other's quite even, and you've got a fairly sort of long and very squared away little finger. So the way you use your thoughts is probably not in line exactly with what you would like to do. So that quite often means that you'd roll around into thoughts that aren't in line with what you're doing. Means that your mind wanders, is basically what I'm saying. Talk to the elbow, the hand's not worth the extension. I like it, that's wonderful. I must remember that one. And yeah, pretty cool. Cold shoulder. So with that, I'd say, yeah, your mind can wander. So, you know, if you're doing anything that's kind of mundane, the chances are your mind sort of wandered off and doing all sorts of other things, and you have to haul it back. With that, you may not always pay attention when people are talking to you if they're particularly boring. So that's kind of interesting. You're very pointed. There's the things that you like, the things that you want, and you're very directional in that. And you'll do, I think, just about anything to get things happening the way you want them to. You're quite open to trying things that are different, and the opportunities when they present themselves will always be followed through by you. Your thumb is very open. That means it holds itself, I still can't do it. Oh, well, I sort of do it, but yeah, it twists itself quite out, and so that just means that you're quite open. You're open to people giving you suggestions. You're open to people not telling you what to do so much, but you're open to people giving you new ideas, and you will filter those. You will look at those and think about them and decide what's best for you, and then once you've decided, then you will follow through with that. You have a very long hand in relation to your fingers, and so that means to me that you're a very solid person, very foundational. It's very important for you to have security, and it's very important for you to create security as well, not just for yourself but for others if there are others that require it. You are the solid center. Do you know what I mean? When you're a little old lady of 85, 95, the family will come to you and still see you as the center of the family, that kind of a person. Any pivotal group, any group, you can be very pivotal within that group, that people radiate around you. If you want to have the party, they'll all show up. If somebody else has the party, you might bring half of the people there by creating the invite, if that makes any sense. So you are definitely a pivotal individual with the others around you, sort of a little bit satellite-like. Let's have a look. We've got a curve to your middle finger away from your index finger. So again, I'm in that sort of realm by looking at the hand of thinking that what you do isn't always reflective of your creativity. So make sure you find time for creativity. Isn't just about art either, by the way, just so we're all very clear. But make sure you find time to be creative. Plot and plan, even if you feel like you've tied yourself into a particular situation for 5 or 10 years, plot and plan what you might want to do after that, or other things that would be nice. That's how we keep ourselves rolling. Otherwise, we make a plan for a period of time, we get there and then go, what now? Because we haven't planned beyond that. And so it's really like, it's testing the waters, it's imagining, it's practicing, and it's playing. Because your fingers die away and get a little bit thinner at the top, that extension may be a bit of a challenge for you, but it would make a good practice to get into. You can change anything. You know, thoughts and playing around with ideas and plotting and planning are definitely good things for everybody to do. I've got a very straight line on your thumb, the line of your thumb into your hand. There's almost no curve because of the thumb being turned out to a certain degree. And so you do have a set idea of what you want in life, and you do have a set idea of what each day is going to bring and where that's going to take you. And you're very comfortable in that. Security, again, is quite important for you. And at the same time, it leaves you now and again sort of looking for something different, which might be why you hang around us, right? Looking for something different. And so take that through to a practice. Make that sort of a daily enjoyment for you in a more constructive or productive way, because you've got those 3 fingers lined up at the top there, and the long little finger. You really do tend to. This is the straight up and down kind of a person. Bang! That's me. That's what I'm doing. You can bend your thumb all the way back. Does that mean anything? It means you're bloody clever. I want you at my party, baby. Maybe that's what gets the people to your parties. Oh my God, she's just realised she's her mother, says Meg. That's kind of funny. That's terrible, actually, because I find myself saying, you know, as soon as you say, I don't want to be like my mother, you already are, and you're recognising those qualities. So as long as you've got all her good qualities, then it's all good, right? So that's our show for today. I'm hoping that you all got something out of that. Thank you very much. And next week I'm talking about DNA. I'm talking about DNA reprogramming. I'm talking about what that means, how we encode, how we change. Yeah, we're going to go through all of that so that there's a greater level of understanding around that, and exactly what the DNA is doing and how it does it from the womb to adulthood. So it's that kind of a show. Now, I will still be doing readings, but we will be looking more at the aura. We'll be looking more at chakras, probably chakras. And so if you want a chakra reading, then let me know, and we can identify with chakra readings the areas that are changing in the physical body that could cause you problems as the time goes by. So everybody, you have a great week, and try not to be part of the problem.